Mount Everest is getting more expensive every year and getting crowded like a tourist place while people are still dying even after spending their life saving into this adventure. Every year, Nepal Tourism Department comes with new regulation in response to the rising human waste in the mountain. It definitely makes climbing Mount Everest more expensive, but it hasn't stopped the Mount Everest from becoming the most polluted mountain in the Himalayas. That makes me think, is it still worth climbing Mount Everest? Does climbing Mount Everest has the same significance as it was decades ago? With all the assistance climber gets like fixed rope from the base camp to the summit, supplementary oxygen, helicopter to the base camp, and more Sherpa assistance, will it be considered as an athletic achievement? To answer all these, we must understand how Mount Everest expedition is carried out and how much does it cost. Almost all the climbers in the Mount Everest go with the guided expedition that can be booked with the local or international tour operators. International tour operators are expensive. On average, you are likely to pay around $70,000 with the Western guide. If you go with the local tour operator, you may get as low as $30,000. On average, climbers pay about $45,000 for the Nepalese tour operator. It usually includes 60 days itinerary. It covers the cost of accommodation, trek to the base camp, guide cost, the climbing Sherpa cost, and all the permit and fee associated with the climbing Mount Everest. What it doesn't include is the summit bonus and the tips for the staff. When you reach the summit, it is the common practice among the climber to pay the summit bonus to the climbing Sherpa, and it is also a very common practice to tip the working staff at the base camp. Consider the summit bonus about $1,800 and $500 tip for the staff. You will also have to buy your own climbing gear. That would include boots, downsuit, crampon, sleeping bag, and clothing for the base camp. On average, personal gear would cost you around $7,000 to $10,000, so you are expected to pay $60,000 or more for the guided expedition. There is another way to climb Mount Everest. It is possible to climb Mount Everest at your own, but it will be very complex to go through all the permits and logistics. For simplicity, unsupported climbers choose the base camp service from the local operators and climb the Mount Everest without a guide. Rope is usually fixed from the base camp to the summit, and the climbers who are climbing without the guide, they have an option to use the fixed rope, for which they have to pay a certain amount of fee. Usually base camp service include these fees. Base camp service include all these costs, including trek to the base camp, then accommodation, food at the base camp for the entire expedition. It will also include the permit fee, rope fixing charges, trash deposit fee, license officer fee, or any other permit that is required for climbing the Mount Everest. Keeping all these variables in mind, self-supported expedition may cost less than $30,000. How about going alpine? Alpinism is pretty rare these days. Mount Everest is very crowded. In 2023, there were 667 summits. It may be possible to attempt Everest in alpine style during off-season like peak winter or monsoon. Most of the good weather window is occupied by the commercial climb, and the normal route is fixed from the base camp to the summit. An alpinist would find hard time to avoid these fixed ropes. This is exactly the reason alpinism is pretty rare on Mount Everest these days. To summarize, in order to climb Mount Everest, you are required to have a lot of money, which is not the case for the most of the people and young athletes. It is hard to find a sponsor, as climbing Mount Everest is no longer considered as an exceptional achievement. A gradual increase in crowd on Mount Everest has contributed to collection of human bio-waste in upper camps. Due to low temperature, they don't degrade over the years. It pollutes the snow, which other climbers melt for drinking water. At the moment, camps are filthy. There is about 22,000 kilos of human waste in the Mount Everest. Looking at all these issues and the amount we will have to pay to climb Mount Everest, it doesn't seem a great idea to climb Mount Everest. There are hundreds of mountains in Himalayas and Karakoram that can test our ability, and climber will get the same level of adventure. Climbing Everest will surely make us popular, but today's climbing experience is totally different. Nonetheless, Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world, towering above the death zone, and will continue to attract the people from all around the world.